What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Hul's back again with another e-commerce conversations. I hope all is well on the other side of the internet. On the other side of the internet from me, Ray. What's up, man?
Not too much, Eric. Thanks for having me on the show.
Not too much, he says. Well, I gotta ask. I just asked it. Are you ready for a good episode?
I am. I'm told I was born ready. So
There you go. There you go. Why don't you give our listeners a quick rundown of who you are and why that dad pun is so bad?
yeah. I spent my entire career in commerce. I've built two companies in the commerce space. The first one I sold to Google, and I ran the mobile commerce product org there for a number of years. I started a company called Ritual that was in the restaurant space. So I've been very, very passionate about building technology for local businesses for a long, long time. Um, and then this January, um, our team from Ritual joined Shopify, and I've been leading the retail product team since then.
Okay. And your last name is
My
Reddy.
last name, my last name is Reddy, hence the dad joke. Yeah, I'm a dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm excited for this conversation. For those who don't know, Beard Brand, my business, we have a barber shop, and our barbers are using the Shopify POS tool. So it's been something that we've kind of actively been doing. We've been monitoring. We've been seeing the progression. But I'm kind of curious from your perspective how you guys see the development of Shopify POS and how you identify the right customer and what audiences are you going after.
Yeah, I think that Shopify Online, if I'll just start maybe in this way. So Shopify's customer base online is overwhelmingly broad. Uh, Shopify operates in 170 countries. It's everything from SMB to some of the largest enterprise brands. And it's almost every vertical from car sales to coffee shops selling beans online. So when you say all verticals, all countries, and all sizes of business, you're pretty much talking about the world. So it is very, very broad, and I think that is really in contradiction to the way that you typically think about POS companies. Because really, I would say when you think about retail and local commerce, it's not one TAM. Like, I mean, you could talk about it as like, I don't know, a $20 trillion, but that's not really accurate. I think it's really like 50 TAMs that you're talking about, right? Restaurants are very different from even coffee shops versus apparel, and then the workflow, for maybe even shoe stores and furniture stores. It's so wide. Pet stores, like when you think like online, a lot of these things have converged. There's like a very predictable, product page, cart, checkout, fulfillment that happens. But if you think about just like you know, the how diverse these things are in store, from table management to fitting rooms to scheduling appointments for maintenance. It's just very, very broad. And so I think typically what you've seen is many verticalized players in POS, and that has tended to be the way to really win markets in regional areas and by vertical. Um, and today, I think where the POS is strongest is in apparel brands, finished home goods, things that I would say are the bread and butter of online. But the thing is that, I mean, I was surprised to see this stat internally, but there's like over 8,000 coffee shops that actually use Shopify's POS to run their coffee shop, and the reason is that the um, the need to consolidate on one system. Obviously, most of these coffee shops are selling their beans online. And I think that the days of having multiple systems, having an online store with its own inventory that doesn't really sync with your in store and you have different customer profiles and all sort of stuff, I think that retailers are really just overwhelmed and done with that level of complexity. Um, and so when I say, our POS doesn't clearly cannot deliver every feature in every vertical in every customer segment around the world. It's impossible. It's what hundreds of companies have built over many decades. But I think what is surprising is how much the unified system, um, the benefit of the unified system greatly outweighs, uh, well, for some merchants, greatly outweighs all of those other features. Um, and I think the other special thing that Shopify has is a very diverse app ecosystem. And so we have app developers who build custom workflows for coffee shops, as an example. And so often in some of these verticals, it's not necessarily that Shopify POS supports these merchants right out of the box, but often our POS with an app solution, is all of the workflows that a merchant might need.
So when you think about, your ideal customer base and knowing that it is kind of like a vertical, historically has been like vertical channels that will adopt specialized tools. You're coming in, you're talking about how, the tool is really going to be great for people who are looking for that unified platform where you can handle both POS and kind of e-commerce or, ordering systems, stuff like that. Is there a way to, you know, I'm just putting on my marketing hat right now, and I would say like, as a consumer, that's really confusing. Like that's not going to convey a message very well to who should actually use Shopify POS. Like, is there like,
Yeah,
from, from
I'll try. I'll try to answer that maybe in more detail. So I think the top categories of merchants that choose our POS are apparel, sporting goods, um, a lot of gift, novelty, souvenir retailers, um, and and then beauty and cosmetics is another very big category. So I would say like those are really the dominant categories. But then we also have I'd say the next tier of customers. Like I was saying, those customers, it is almost a default choice for many of them. We see a very meaningful portion of our online base choose the Shopify POS to also power their offline commerce. But then pet stores, bike stores, a number of things, a number of jewelry stores. So those I would say are emerging categories. And I think the reason I somewhat struggle to answer the question is that it really is a point in time thing, and we are building so quickly and so fast that we may not have been a great solution for example, I'll just look at enterprise. I was very honestly about 2 years ago, if you were 1,000 store retailer, we were not the right POS for you. But now we have 1,000 store retailers on Shopify, and so we've made meaningful investments and closed a meaningful number of gaps to support a really wide range of customers and sizes of customers, and that's really the power of the platform.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little more because the question was in my head, is it just like a D2C company that also has a retail spot, or is it a retail spot that also does some D2C, and they're just kind of like small locations, or is it like these larger retailers? You talk about like the complexities of 1,000 stores has got to be exponentially more complicated than a mom and pop bricks and mortar that has a single location.
Well, this is why I think exactly it is. And so the challenge I would say is how do you build a platform that is simple enough for a single store operator to run their business, but also has the capability, the permissioning models, and all of the compliance things that a very large brand would need to run 1,000 stores. I think that's the difficult product work that has to be done.
How we were running into, so we wanted to use Shopify POS in kind of like a unique way, in the sense of bringing on, let's say, like sales reps, who would function as basically selling our products from our store. But from my understanding, um, we wanted to ship them the products, so they would almost function as like their own individual store, but they want to buy them. And from my understanding, Shopify POS limits that to 500 stores or 500 locations. Is that so? How are the 1,000 store companies
Yeah,
able to do that?
that limit has changed.
Okay, recently was that like within the
Yeah,
past couple weeks?
pretty. Uh, w- uh, yes, in terms of internally, and I think externally, we're starting to also open it up. But I think, yeah, we've known for a long time that, we have to these internal limitations have to be fixed. And so again, I would say we're working through it, but we do have stores now that are hundreds and very soon thousands that will be on Shopify. They're not, not all of them have been maybe launched or announced yet, but the platform does support.
Okay. When you say thousands, what do you think or what is the limit to that? Like, is it more of like being able to convey the information? Is it just like a technical burden on the data lookup and organization of things?
Yeah, I think it's like you run into the system is so large that you can run into like weird bottlenecks, just like things like data sync issues that never contemplated. So it's like some component somewhere that never contemplated that you have to do something, some lookup, would be just maybe designed not efficiently enough to be run 5,000 across 5,000 stores. So I'd say it's like things like that, and because the system is so large, there are just a number of these things. So it's almost like 80% of the platform actually supports a very large number of stores, but then you've got these little bottlenecks that you have to go kind of upgrade, and so I think that's really, but inherently there is no real limitation on the platform itself. It's just, I would say, certain bottlenecks that have to be opened up.
Yeah, I just think of a use case is like, for lack of better terms, like an MLM, which historically have not gotten a lot of love from, in my opinion, an honorable way of running a business. I'm a little more old school, just kind of sell direct to the consumer. But if you start to think about like each individual, being able to sell products, and even like having a family of people working under them, and how you might be able to organize that, is that going to be something that Shopify ever moves toward, or is that just kind of, not within your realm of core expertise?
It is not what is supported today, but I think that if you look at the arc of where this platform is going over the next few years, even if I start with almost how we began this podcast, where we said, is this the right POS for stores who sell online, who want to have their retail business in sync with their online business? Even that is being challenged. A double-digit percent of uh, stores that use our POS are exclusively brick and mortar stores that don't use us for online, either don't have an online business or don't use us for online. Um, and 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 so increasingly, I would say, the POS can't just be, because offline commerce is so much larger than online commerce. We can't really treat POS as an add-on business, right? And that's what I mean, naturally, that's where it started. It started as an add-on to, POS is actually a 10-year-old startup within Shopify. It's been around for a very, very long time, and I think it's gone through, many incarnations as it's gotten to maturity. But at this point, it's a very mature platform, and I think probably in the last 12 months, is when it has started to become an independently good product that retailers are starting to choose it aside from the fact that it works online. And I think that's actually the right thing. If you say, what is my goal and my vision here? It's that working with works well with online is table stakes. That shouldn't be the selling point. It should be like, of course it does, made by the same company. Um, but I think what I strive for is like this should be independently a great POS product for the verticals and segments that we serve. Um, and we've got a long way to go. We have a long way to go on doing that. And the reason we have a long way to go is the problems are quite specific. And so it's really, really difficult to go broad and deep. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's as you said, it's such a huge market, and there's so many needs out there. Our listeners, I assume, tend to be more D2C heavy, and what I like for them to, or an exercise I would like for them to think about is like, how would you, or do you, or can you use POS in a primarily direct consumer function? And a couple of ways that might be unique is, if you're doing like a pop-up shop, or if you're doing a farmer's market, to be able to have those tools available to you. If you're doing a lot of trade shows, or you have an opportunity to sell product in person without an actual brick and mortar, that is a unique way to generate. And then also, like thinking about building out a sales team, because effectively, I mean, I don't know if I guess it would have to be like an in-person sales team. Like if they're knocking on doors, they take their phone with you. People can pay, by tapping the phone. Is that technology? I'm doing a little segue here, but is that technology, that like phone to tap, is that pretty innovative with Shopify, or is that pretty much a standard bearer across the board in POS systems?
um, tap to pay is a very common. It's a widely adopted technology at this point. But I would say making it very usable and powerful, um, and integrated with POS workflows is, I think, what Shopify has done a nice job of. And what do internally we call um, in-person sellers who sell at pop-up stores or farmers market. We call them casual sellers, as opposed to those who run brick and mortar stores, and they make up an enormous. I mean, they tend to be the the starter pack of where we see many many retail businesses start that don't already have retail stores. Many new retail businesses start that way, and then graduate. And the really nice thing, we've seen examples of um, you know companies like Allbirds and many others that started very, very small in Shopify, and were able to scale to become very, very large and have many, many stores. And it's really nice that we've been able to support them through that entire journey of growth. There's three or four, I can't remember off the top of my head, that are actually not like public companies that have grown up, with Shopify, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I think that an example on why it's tap to pay in and of itself isn't enough is when you start to look at places in Europe that have fiscal compliance regulations and things like that. Selling just payment isn't enough. Often, they may want some light inventory management or the ability to take stock counts, and that's integrated. They you want your online store to reflect in real time, availability on hand and things like that. So there's many reasons why like it's more than just payment. There are other examples. Like another one would be, what if you sold? We use the example of, you go into a mattress store, you want to walk out with the pillows, and you want the mattress shipped to you. You want to be able to do that in one transaction. So there's many capabilities like that even for for pop-up stores would matter, which is you could sell something but not have the inventory on hand, and then have it shipped to the customer via your online store. So we see all kinds of say selling in person is relatively simple, but when you look at all of the various capabilities that customers want, and how do you make this like really seamless for the seller? Like the whole point is you don't want the person doing the transaction having to spend 5 minutes fiddling with your phone, adjusting inventory and entering addresses and doing all of that stuff. So how do you really like minimize you know, the job of the POS is to do the heavy lifting so that the seller can focus on building a relationship with the customer. So that's really what we try to do is like minimize the time you spend fiddling with your phone.
Yeah, walk me through that. I mean, I've been on Shopify since 2013, and we've been using the POS since you had the little card readers that plugged into the 3.5 millimeter jack in your phones, and of course we saw the launch of your own devices. But now it just seems like bring your own device, bring your own phone, bring your own iPad. But let's say you have this situation where you have in-person sales reps who are creating orders that will be shipped to a customer. Walk me through what that experience is going to look like between the rep and the customer, and how they deliver that information to that person.
Yeah, so mixed. We call these things mixed baskets, and they used to require really awkward workarounds. And with the launch of POS 10 a few months ago, this was one of the big upgrades. Was we now support mixed baskets in one order and one payment, so you don't have to do multiple orders. You can basically swap a size. During pickup without having to cancel anything. You can override routing rules when stock is tight and issue a return or exchange that just settles against the original payment. So all of these things I would say were very cumbersome workflows previously. And I think what we were able to do is look at the way that staff were really using our product, and often with a single customer or a single order, they were forced to do 5 different things if it was complex, which was really, really cumbersome. We actually like monitor this very, very carefully. We call these complex carts. And so we've seen with the launch of, just to maybe share a few numbers, with the launch of POS 10, we saw a 5% improvement across the board in cart building time. So that means the time it takes to start a cart to actually, do checkout. And then a meaningful, just under 10-second, in the most extreme cases, it was like close to a 10% improvement in cart building when there was like, for example, more than 2 modifiers, and multiple products in that cart. So that's just an example of, we constantly monitor how staff are interfacing with our product and look for inefficiencies and try to really like simplify these workflows. So that's one part, right? Is like looking at complex workflows and just making them simpler. And that's a win for everyone. There's speed. So search used to be one of the gripes used to be you had to do exact match text searches, which with a small catalog was fine. But as you start to get into these really large catalogs, for if you had a very large catalog, it could be really challenging to actually you mistype something and it doesn't work. But now again with POS 10 we launched an updated search algorithm that we hear from retailers that it just feels like Google. It's fuzzy matches, SKU fragments just work. We had a home goods chain, 47,000 SKUs as an example. And so it was a huge deal for them. And then the last one, you talk about pop-ups. We see many examples of stores that have seasonal staff. And either we'll have a pop-up for a season or an outdoor section for a season, something like that. And I think they tend to have very high staff turnover. You're bringing people for a few months, and so you don't want to invest a huge amount of time in training and ramp up. And so this is another thing: is like how intuitive is the POS to use, and this is another area where we've invested a lot in. So there's a summer pop-up apparel brand, that gave a testimonial that their seasonal staff were able to pick up the nav and the workflows in one shift with no cheat sheet needed. So we love hearing things like that. Power with simplicity.
Pleasurable experiences to buying stuff. You just put in your email and then you get a text message and you confirm it. And then my address and all that is in there. Does Shopify POS link with the Shop app and Shop Pay and all that? How does that typically look and work?
Yeah, it does. You can pay with Shop Pay in quite a large number of retailers, not all, but a large number of them. But this is definitely an area of investment. Like I think overall, my view here is that the future is about the convenience of online with the tangible nature of shopping in store. Right? People, one of the frustrations of in store is that it takes too long to find something in store. You've got to go hunt down staff and look for inventory, things like that. Checkout being, not one click as it is online. So really, I think we think about the future is how do we really merge the convenience and profiles and capabilities we have of online to make in-store shopping like that much more seamless. So yes, uh, doing much more like a very simple example here is um, customers when they want to have something shipped to home have to kind of dictate their full name and address and all sort of stuff. Well, that's already stored in your shop identity. So there's an obvious example there of if you could just magically beam that information, um, that would be awesome. So I think that when you think about identity,
Are they able to beam that information? Is it like they just pull up the shop app and then?
no, no, but that's what we're working on. So
Okay.
I think just
Okay.
that's like I think a clear opportunity to just remove it's just such obvious friction that literally we have all your information in one system here. Just
Yeah.
need to get it over to the other system. So I just mean like those are like very simple low hanging fruit type things to improve the experience. Obviously, payment is another easy one. But I think there's a lot more we can do with the buyer experience. Like we know so much about, for example, things that you've seen online, carts that you've built online, and imagine an experience where it's like, well, you looked at these items online or you added them to your cart. Guess what? They're just 2 feet away from you, if you want to check them out. So I think that there's a lot we can do with connecting people's online intent when they're in store. That I think
Okay.
is a big win.
So I'm going to ask you a personal question for a project we're working on at Beard Brand. So we haven't built the program yet. We want to use Shopify, Shop Pay, Shop POS. We want to use it all. We want to stay on the ecosystem. So we want to work within the limitations that are maybe current, but also understand that where the limitations may be with us. Basically, we want to build a distributed sales team. And then the way I look at it is one, I could sell them all the products like a traditional wholesale model at half price, and then they're responsible for managing it. They're responsible for their own POS, all that. That's just like a typical store that Shopify POS wouldn't even be involved in that situation. Option number two would be kind of like a consignment type of thing where we ship all the products to them. We consider them a location. They haven't bought the products, but we would pay them a commission when they actually sell the product. And then option number three, which I hadn't even considered until this podcast, was really like give them basically display units that they can use the products, and then the customer places the order and it gets shipped to them to their house. And then that way we don't have the whole thousands of locations, but the consumer doesn't get the product for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, like logistically, that would probably be the simplest, and something that would, your option two would really scale. But over time, there's hybrid versions of these things that are like, once you have a sense of, no one wants to hold a lot of inventory on hand, so maybe there are like, very small things that sell fast, and it's the example of like take home the pillows and get the mattress shipped with you. So there might be, a version of some hybrid model down the road. But yeah, I mean, I think to get off the ground, it would be very easy to have display units and ship from a central location.
Yeah, and then I guess the bottleneck with that is, my concern with that is just getting the customers information. Like how much time does it take to get their name, get their mailing address, get their payment information? Is what does that look like
Well,
right now?
today,
And I guess
today,
in the future too.
yeah. So yeah, I'll be well. Maybe I'll describe the opportunity because um, there's a lot that we're working on that we're not ready to announce yet. But I think the opportunity with Shop is, there's, I think, what was we released a lot of public information in Q1. I think it was something like 1 in 6 uh, shoppers on the internet now. Is some wild number like that that has checked out with Shop, and we have over 200 million uh, Shop accounts uh, that are created buyer profiles. So the short answer, and the Shop network is growing, very fast. So I think that increasingly it will be rare to come across a shopper who does not have a, a Shop profile on their phone. And so I think really, like, I think what you point out is exactly right. The friction in buying often is needing, the dictation of information. And if that could just be a tap, if that could be a QR code, I mean, there's tons of ways to, connect devices and transmit information. But that is clearly the opportunity, um, especially when you're all in one Shopify ecosystem, right? That has to be one of the advantages of being in the Shopify ecosystem. So I think that a lot of these things are going to get significantly easier, and the friction is just going to go away over time.
Yeah, but for now it's kind of manual, so they got to manually add in the names and email address and
Yeah, what we have right now is something called live lookup, and so what that does is when you pay, um, it uses the credit card fingerprint to basically populate to create a customer profile for you if you turn that feature on the POS, and if that buyer has a shop identity. Um, and that actually is very meaningful today. Like, it is something like a third of all transactions that you can, are not anonymous, which is a really big deal for retailers, especially the ability to, market to people and continue to have a conversation with their in-store customers like they can online. So that is actually one of the very big differentiating features today of the POS. And I think we just look at how powerful that is, and how interested retailers are in doing more and more with that. That, it's definitely an area we're going to double.
yeah, I think that's exciting to kind of see and hear. I think it was Bonobos that their whole business model was that showroom model where come in, try the different clothes, and then they just had a. So I think there are a number of customers who are willing to kind of go. To me, from a customer perspective, it seems like a slightly more headache. It's like I don't get the immediacy of I buy the product and then I get it right now. So you still have to kind of wait this kind of hybrid experience. Um, but I do think this would
But
be
I will
interesting
say,
to watch.
but I will say that managing inventory is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And we see this. It's like, it always seems like it's very like stores who have to manage inventory across stores. Like, obviously our system, does that for you. It helps you do that. But to be able to predict what to have where, not to have inventory sit for too long, so this is one of the big advantages of the D2C model. There is a trade-off to be made there, but I think especially getting started is a far simpler of the models.
Okay. This is the last question I've got to ask because my admin insisted that I ask. We have a barber who's on our POS, and he has his own store, and I guess he's running into an issue where multiple stores are not currently allowed for a POS account. Is that something that is in the works for resolving, or is there a recommendation for how
Multiple
to?
stores. Does he mean maybe multiple entities under the same account, like across maybe countries or something like that? Could it
Well,
be
yeah.
anything
So
like that?
he's starting up like a new company, and he wants to sell
Yeah,
on Shopify, but he also works for us, and I
right.
think he wants to use that same email address.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that today there isn't multi-entity support under the same, and even that I'm not 100. Like, again, all of these things. So these things come up for various reasons, especially with like international customers who may have. So that's really where we see this issue. So the short of it is that may be true today, but it is another thing that we're working on primarily because we see international retailers have multiple entities that need to be under the same account. So,
Yeah.
so even though that may be a struggle today, it likely will be fixed very soon.
Okay. Good to hear. Good to hear. Where can people follow you, learn more about you, support you, get Shopify POS?
Yeah, LinkedIn and Twitter. Just Ray Reddy on both.
R
Um,
E D D
R
Y.
E R E D D Y. Yep. And yeah, we put out lots of updates there. All of the reports and things that come out generally are pretty good at sharing it across those two social channels as well as the Shopify channel.
Yeah, Shopify POS 10 was launched in April. Is this a yearly thing that you roll out?
So Shopify does editions. We do what we call editions twice a year. So we
Okay.
do a spring and fall edition. So yeah, that was the big POS announcement in spring, and we'll again have what we do is we launch things. It's not like we wait to launch things. So we launch a number of things constantly, um, but I think we maybe save up some of the bigger ones and sometimes package things that recently launched, and those are the big sort of spotlight moments we do twice a year.
Okay.
So yeah, we're excited for fall.
Is that September or do you have a date yet set for that?
Yes, I believe it's September.
All right, sweet. Ray, well, thanks for coming on, sharing your expertise. I'm excited to see how POS continues to grow. And thank you for the software as a user in it. I appreciate it. It's helped our business and help us deliver a great experience to our customers.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Eric. I really enjoyed the conversation.
As always, this has been another e-commerce conversations. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Cheers and keep on growing.